In the 1950 film noir Sunset Boulevard, directed by Billy Wilder, Norma Desmond, played by Gloria Swanson, is a fading silent film star of yesteryear living in Gothic seclusion in her decaying mansion on Sunset Boulevard. The story unfolds through the eyes of Joe Gillis, a struggling Hollywood screenwriter, fleeing repo men who are after his car. Desperate to escape, he turns into the driveway of what appears to be an abandoned estate, only to discover that it's inhabited by Norma Desmond, a relic of cinema's silent era who has retreated from a world that has forgotten her. Cynically recognizing an opportunity, Joe agrees to help edit her comeback screenplay, accepting money and lodging while feeding her fantasies of a triumphant return to the screen. Norma's world is a mausoleum of her former glory, every room filled with photographs of her younger self, her only companions being Max, her devoted butler, and a coterie of aging silent film stars who gather for bizarre bridge games, all living in the amber of nostalgia. Together, they act as her enablers, forming an ecosystem that sustains her delusions. Joe becomes increasingly trapped in this gilded cage, his initial cynicism giving way to guilt and suffocation. When he finally decides to break free, he tells Norma the truth, that director Cecil B. DeMille wasn't calling her about a comeback, but merely wanted to rent her vintage car for a film. Her fragile reality shatters completely. Unable to accept obsolescence, Norma shoots Joe as he attempts to leave. And in the film's haunting finale, she descends her grand staircase in full delusion, believing the cameras and police are cast members there to film her comeback. The film explores how wealth and fame, when combined with isolation and unchecked delusion, can transform privilege into a psychological prison. Norma's mansion, with its money and grandeur, doesn't liberate her, but rather insulates her from the truth, creating an echo chamber where her fantasies can metastasize unchecked. Joe doesn't genuinely care about her well-being, but humors her delusions for personal gain, much like a manipulative press that feeds her narcissism while secretly mocking it. Max embodies her devoted fan base that loves the icon more than the person, willing to sustain dangerous fantasies rather than helping her adapt to change. The tragedy isn't just Norma's violence, but the system of enablement that made it inevitable. An ecosystem where everyone's self-interest is aligned with maintaining her delusion rather than confronting her with compassion. The relentless pursuit of recaptured perfection, of returning to a moment of glory that can never be recreated, becomes a death spiral when surrounded by people who profit from the fantasy. Wealth provides the means to construct an alternate reality where Norma's delusions fester into madness. In Norma Desmond's world, perfection becomes a prison and a tool for defense, built to protect against shame, against aging, against irrelevance, and against the loss of control. Her delusion demands constant maintenance. The image must be preserved, the narrative must be upheld, and when reality refuses to comply, reality must be edited, replaced, or denied. The true tragedy at the heart of Sunset Boulevard is not that Norma Desmond was forgotten, but that she was never helped to survive being forgotten, that no one ever taught her how to live without the mirror, without the audience, and without the illusion that her value depended on being seen. Her crumbling mansion becomes her world. The world becomes her stage. And when that stage finally collapses, all that remains are tragic delusions. Last week, Kensington Palace teased a photograph of a woman's fingers on the keys of a piano ahead of Kate's Christmas Carol concert broadcasting on ITV. This was later followed up by a video of Kate and Charlotte playing a duet of a piece called Home Sound by composer Erland Cooper. It was very sweet, very wholesome, mother and daughter bonding. The kingdom rejoices, the birds sing, yada, yada, yada. Now, there's nothing wrong with this, of course, but Kensington Palace gave the impression that this was part of a live performance that took place on the night of Kate's biggest event of the year, her Together at Christmas concert, which I discussed in a previous video. So there are two things about this that I found interesting. And the first is, when exactly did this take place? We don't really know because Together at Christmas happened early in December, but the press waited until the end of December to report it. And of course, it includes the usual gushing and ebullient praise which we've come to expect from the press with regard to anything Kate Middleton does. So please forgive me if I don't understand, but was this a separate event? Or was this a part of the recorded event from the night of December 7th? This is my first question, because it's not really clear. You walk away with the impression that it's the same event, when in fact it was two separately recorded events. I may be wrong. Please let me know. Everyone makes mistakes. So if this is a recorded event from December 7th, when she had the Carol concert, why are we just hearing about it now, almost a month later? Another report came out where it states that ITV viewers switched off their televisions because they were so thoroughly disgusted by the quality of the performances that took place that night at Kate's caroling event. And again, I'm just trying to understand, was this the same event? And I think it's not clear for a reason. Okay, so think of it this way. Imagine you're a pro tennis player, and let's say you just won the French Open. Just an example, okay? And instead of it being reported that you won the French Open on June 30th or whatever, okay, it's just an example, the press instead waits a whole month to report that you won the French Open. On what planet would that happen? Now, you may think that's kind of a far-fetched comparison, but I don't think so at all. This is a part of what can only be described as a phenomenon of extreme media manipulation from Kate's camp deep within the firm. If Kate was playing this beautiful piano performance on the night of her caroling event, why is it just being reported now, almost a month later? Now, the second thing, and probably the most telling thing about this that I want to point out, is that the sound you are hearing, which is a composition by Erland Cooper, let me explain. This is the piece. Now, I hope I don't get a copyright strike here, so I won't play too much of it. And you can go on their IG page if you want to hear more of it. But this is not the actual sound of them playing the piece. Now, is this the piece that was played? Yes. Did Kate and Charlotte play this piece? Probably, yes. Now, did Kate and Charlotte play the sound that you are hearing? The answer is no, they did not. This is like a voiceover except with music. Okay, it's an audio overlay of an edited video. And I know that because I'm a content creator. The sound that you're hearing is not them playing. Do you understand? That doesn't mean they didn't play the piece. It just means that the sound you are hearing now and the sound that they played that night are two different things. Do you understand what I'm trying to say here, folks? So the next question is, why? Why, when it comes to Kate, there is always this heavily manufactured, carefully curated, highly edited regurgitation of her life? And why is the press purposely participating in this pulling the wool over our eyes? Now look, folks, if they weren't praising this woman every 5 minutes, congratulating her for putting up her hair or for going down the steps backwards in stilettos, if they weren't reporting on everything this woman does as though she was the Dalai Lama, I don't understand it. I would not give one care to talk about this woman. I'm going to be honest with you. I just find this to be a very strange phenomenon. If they just let her be, just treated her like a normal human being, if she slipped up, if she did something goofy in public, if they just reported it and just kept going, instead of trying to make it seem as if everywhere she goes, she leaves sparkles and unicorns in her wake, I would not feel half as compelled to talk about this woman. But instead, William and Kate are calling up the press every time they catch wind that people are questioning their authenticity. Maybe a day after Kensington Palace decided to share the duet performance with the world, composer Erlen Cooper appeared in this interview, which made the headlines, stating emphatically that Kate and Charlotte were indeed the ones playing the piece.
They played it several times and then they asked me to have a wee go as well. And I gave a few pointers, but I didn't need to. I think I was there as a cheerleader.
It must be, for any composer.
Now, why did he have to do this? Folks, I guarantee you that a phone call was made from Kensington Palace telling him, imploring him to come out and publicly vouch for Kate, because Kate is busy spending all her time, that is when she's not in the gym, trawling the internet, including the comment sections of various social media platforms, for any negative utterance made about her. Because why was this necessary? This is part of the ongoing beatification of Saint Kate, to deflect from the fact that Kate remains the least busy royal in the firm's roster. This is an audio overlay of a highly edited video, just like this is not a real photograph. This is another Franken-photo. This is supposed to be the Wales' official Christmas family photo. And folks, when I first saw this image, the first thing that came to my mind was, what the hell is this? Because I would like someone to explain to me how this is real. This is obviously another fake photo. Now look, people, this is just my logical brain asking a question here. No sentiment, no emotion, just my logical brain. I would like someone to tell me to my face that this is a real photograph. Because Kate has obviously been added to the picture. I don't know what's going on here. Is this a skirt? Is this a knee? I've heard some people say her knee is somewhere in this picture. Some people have said that this part here that looks like George's back is really her knee. This is complete lunacy. Why does this woman keep doing this? And now I'm wondering if maybe Kate really was the one who photoshopped this thing back in 2024. You know, when she was still missing. When they came out with this crazy Franken photo where they got dragged for filth, where something happened that I never thought I'd see happen before. The newspapers had to issue a public notice stating that they could not deem the office of Kensington Palace to be a trusted source. That had never happened before. This is the infamous Mother's Day photo that was originally attributed to William. And then the next day, we were told that while Kate was still missing, she was in some room somewhere playing around on the Photoshop. While everybody was out there worried about her, it just shows what little respect they have for the public. Because if nothing was wrong with her, and she was just busy editing photographs on Photoshop, do you mean to tell me that she couldn't even stick her head out of a window to say, "Hi, here I am, I'm okay. I just want some time for myself. Nothing wrong with that, I guess." This is how she really feels about her fans. While everyone was genuinely worried about her the whole time, she was okay and doing Photoshop. And when they said it was her responsible for the bad Photoshop job, I didn't believe it. But now I'm wondering, was it really her? I don't know. That would mean that she was not in a prolonged convalescence, which would have rendered her incapacitated. Okay, there's that possibility. They refuse to give us any truthful information, so you have no choice but to figure things out. And for all you leave Kate alone people, look, just don't watch my videos. This is entertaining to me. The lengths that these people go to fool the public, to lie constantly in our faces, is funny to me. And I don't care what you think about that. So anyway, they're saying that this is her hand on her knee or this is George's back. It's just ridiculous. Just like the Mother's Day photo, this is a composite of images done so badly that it gives the impression that you're looking at a Picasso painting. I mean, look at this. Her body looks disjointed, practically geometrical in different parts of the picture. Her arm looks freakishly long. There's this disembodied hand. It looks like someone prompted the AI to turn a cubist painting into a photograph. How can anyone look at this and not say that this isn't another highly questionable photograph? Kate is obviously photoshopped in here. First of all, this is not even a Christmas picture, which is okay. It doesn't have to be Christmas. The fact that it's in a different season is not really what bothers me about this. What bothers me about this is the fact that it is fake. That's it. I don't care what season it was taken in. This is a fake picture because Kate was not a part of this picture, and that's what makes it a fake. And now I really am wondering if William was telling the truth when he said she was the artsy one. Remember? The day after the photo fallout, when they were made into a laughingstock around the world, William was so embarrassed, he immediately denounced ownership of the picture that he claimed was his the day before. He was like, no, it wasn't me, it was her. Kate's up to her photoshopping again, manipulating pictures. And he made fun of her. He said she was the artsy one. And that's another thing. I wonder how many pictures she's probably done this to, but we just either don't know or don't care. And here's the thing. I think all she does is prowl the internet to see what people are saying about her, briefing the press behind quote-unquote royal sources, and tinkering around with her pictures. No wonder she has no time to do engagements. And so the next question is, why? Why is she always doing this? Well, we know the reason. It's not that hard to figure out. The purpose of her doing this is to desperately paint a picture of perfection, which means she has to convey to the public that she and William are in a happy marriage, when it's obvious that they're not. William looks like he's about to blow a gasket every time you see them together. And what does it say about the Waleses that they could not even find an hour out of their day to come together and pose for a picture. Instead, Kate is having to resort to messing with the Photoshop again. The artsy one, indeed. Now, either William just can't be bothered, we know he's lazy, and poor Kate has to resort to one of her Franken photos again. And don't worry, this time they've properly talked to the press, so there won't be any more embarrassing kill notices. So I saw this video of the annual Christmas Day walkabout at Sandringham, and something struck me, quite a few things struck me actually. First of all, people are calling out to the whale's children and handing them gifts. Now, I don't want to put George on blast too much here because look, he's a kid. And frankly, his response to this was surprisingly very normal. It's almost as if he himself is thinking that this is just a little bit absurd. He even thinks this is weird. He has enough self-awareness to question, why would you spend your hard-earned quid on the children of billionaires when you know damn well the courtiers are probably going to throw these gifts in the trash? And don't come at me with, oh, they'll give them to charity. Yeah, right. These are people too lazy to find 1 hour in the day to pose for an annual photograph. These are the same staffers who started a rumor that Meghan was a bully for sending them work emails at 5 a.m. These gifts are going right into the bin. And so my mind veered off again on what type of people would actually do this. Well, they're the same people you see in the comment sections who go into conniptions whenever the press or anyone else calls Kate Middleton, Kate Middleton. And I just don't understand these people. I mean, they get genuinely heated. I mean, really angry when people call her Kate Middleton. And I just have to say that I don't understand this. If you don't address her at all times as Catherine, Princess of Wales, and look, folks, I don't think it's only bots. I think a lot of them are real people. They literally lose their shit. And I'm just like scratching my head here because I'm thinking, why? You're a regular person. She doesn't know you. And for all intents and purposes, she's a celebrity, okay? She is a celebrity. Why are you caping so hard for her? And the thing is, it's not even like she's being insulted by calling her Kate Middleton. There are even people in the comment section of my videos who get really distressed when I refer to her the way the press refers to her. And it's not like I'm calling her a slur. I'm not twisting or distorting her name. I'm not misgendering her. I've seen people misgender her online. I'm not calling her something obviously objectionable, like Waity Katie, what the press called her for years. So why do you think it is such a grievous insult to call her Kate Middleton? Well, they all say the same thing, that she's been married since 2011, and therefore she's no longer Kate Middleton. Wait, what? That's ridiculous. These are people stuck living in the past when for most women, marriage was part of a survival strategy. Kate's entire identity has been subsumed by her marriage to William, a man who won't even bother to include her in family photographs. And let me tell you what I think the issue is here, folks. These are the kind of people who think that having a title is what gives a person their value. So in their world, if you don't have a title, then you have no worth. That's why they're always salivating over the idea of the Sussexes losing their titles, because they believe in their minds that the Sussexes are undeserving. They give so much value to this meaningless thing that has no bearing on the character of a person, none whatsoever, that certainly has no bearing on the potential of a person, because you can have no title and be extremely successful. As an American, I don't see what the big deal is about having a title. Does it make you smarter? No. Does it make you richer? Does it make you more successful? Not necessarily, because you have a lot of people with titles who are broke, as we can clearly see in the royal family. But these people practically lose their minds whenever anyone calls their perfect avatar of British perfection anything outside of her title. I also think that Kate believes this as well, because the majority of this "don't call her Kate" stuff, I believe, is coming from her. Sitting in front of her computer all day, photoshopping and monitoring the public to see who isn't addressing her correctly, because some of these reactions are just genuinely hilarious. Now, let me just say before I move on from this, another reason I think Kate hates being called Kate, and I think I've mentioned this before, is that people still associate the Princess of Wales automatically with Princess Diana. And I don't think that's an intentional thing. I think it's just an automatic, involuntary response. At least it is for me. Kate wants so badly to replace Princess Diana. She does not like the fact that people still think of Princess Diana when they think of Princess of Wales. She wants to be the household Princess of Wales, but people still think of Diana. And I think this bothers her, because lately we've been seeing a lot of revisionist history coming out about Princess Diana, trying to paint her as though she was a tart, that she wasn't really a good person, that she had a lot of lovers. And by the way, good for her for having had lovers, because imagine you just got married to a man and you discover that on your wedding night, this man that you just married boinked his mistress on your wedding night. And it's not like she could just get out of the marriage, because this was a very unique kind of marriage. So, you know what? Good for her. I hope she had even more lovers than we know of. But of course, they're trying to smear her memory by using the typical misogynistic tropes like slut shaming, especially for the fact that many young people today didn't know her when she was alive. But I remember her very clearly. I grew up with Princess Diana, and I remember when people called her Lady Di. Even after she got married to Charles, people still called her Lady Di. They weren't doing it to insult her. They just got used to it. And you know what? It never bothered her. Diana never sent out missives through the press pretending to be other people, crying and complaining that people were calling her Lady Di. She didn't say anything because Diana didn't care about titles. That was one of the beautiful things about Diana. She knew that the content of your character was not determined by the title you had. So Kate will never be Diana, not in character and not in purpose, regardless of whatever title she has. And yes, I'm going to continue to call her Kate Middleton. Moving on, last thing. Now, we have become accustomed to the highly artificial world created by Kate and her enablers in the press, namely the highly airbrushed images that are published. However, this year, during the Christmas walkabout, someone captured a true, unvarnished image of the real Kate. And there, in the bright morning Sandringham sun, for all the world to see, was an enormous indentation on Kate's temple. Now, people have mentioned that she had a scar on her return from Trooping the Color last year, and you can see a faint outline of something there, even with heavy makeup and airbrushing. But this time, she didn't have the mask of airbrushing to hide behind. And my God, take a look at this thing. Now, for years, the press said that Kate had a childhood injury resulting in a scar over her eye. At one point, they even tried to claim that this thing that looks like a wig tape was a childhood scar. Okay. But this is more than a simple scar over her eye. And of course, our collective memories went back to 2024 during her absence, when it was clear that at one point she must have been in such a state that she couldn't be seen at all. Anyway, look, folks, I promised myself this video wasn't going to be too long, so let's just leave this for the next one. Happy New Year!